The Dominican Republic by Robin Milhouse. During this PowerPoint presentation, we will discuss and learn the history of the Dominican Republic, the Dominican Republic's role during the Cold War, the effects of imperialism and decolonization on the Dominican Republic, impacts from globalization, the Dominican Republic post-1945, and the challenges the Dominican Republic faces in the 2015 and 2016 years. I chose the Dominican Republic after a trip my family and I attended in 2012. The country was absolutely stunning. The resort we stayed on was awesome. Everybody on the resort was awesome. The resort was beautiful. It was amazing. Words can't even describe how awesome our trip was. But we decided, and we is, when I say we, I refer to my boyfriend, my son, and myself, took a tour of the country, which included a really rough Jeep ride through the country. They took us downtown in the city. They took us to the churches. They took us to the mountaintop where we were fed a true Dominican lunch. And then we went down the side of the mountaintop to the river where they had pineapples and fresh fruit just waiting for us. But during this tour we took, we stopped at a house on the mountainside, and it was a one-room house, and this was a family of 5 to 6. One room, one stove. It's not even a stove. It was more like a fire pit outside of the house, and that's where they cooked. And everybody seemed so happy, but there was 5 individuals living in this one-room house. Their land consisted of banana trees and okra and coffee and papaya and coconut trees everywhere around. But it was so poor. And it really was a reality shock to me. Like, wow, we're staying in this lavish resort, and everywhere around me, I'm just seeing poverty. As we rode downtown, it was even more shocking to see the amount of poverty in the Dominican Republic. I can remember children running up to me and handing me flowers. And of course, I took the flowers. I didn't know any better. And my tour guide yelling at the kids to get away, get away, get away. And him telling me, Senorita, don't take anything. Don't take anything, because they will try to rob you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, over a flower? Like, what? And, the kids were like on the side behind the man, asking me for $1, for $1, for $1. Everybody in the town is attempting to sell you anything and everything. They were selling cigars that were filled with actually rocks and paper, but it was anything they could do to make money. It was very sad to see how the people of the Dominican Republic live versus what you see when you go on vacation, how they make the resorts look so beautiful and appealing, and you would think that, okay, this looks like this, so it has to look the same outside of these gates. But no, and they even warn you when you get to your resort to not leave the gates of the resort at all. I can remember one incident of us coming home from our tour and there being a road blockage and there being 3 officers or 3 men, I don't even know if they were officers, standing with AK-47s in their hands. And it was at that point that I actually became scared. I don't know if I watched too many movies or whatever, but I just became fearful that something was going to happen. They knew that we weren't from here and we are Americans, and I was just actually really terrified and had to calm myself down because I didn't want my son to be scared. I never actually found out why they were standing with the road being blocked and the weapons and everything. Our tour guide just told us, calm down, it's okay. And we went back to the resort. But it always made me ponder and wonder, how can the resorts be so beautiful when they put so much money into these resorts and to setting up everything here, these all-inclusive resorts, and the town around the resorts be as poor as they are. It was really sad, and that's what made me want to do my project on Dominican Republic. So the Dominican Republic is located in the West Indies and accounts for 2/3 of the island of Hispaniola. It shares this island with Haiti, which I find quite amazing. I don't actually find it quite amazing, but it actually explains why I went on my trip and they were asking me if I was Dominican. Um, and I don't think that I look Spanish at all. But I noticed that there were a lot of darker skinned Dominican individuals on our resort who actually looked African American. So I don't know if that is, because of the mix and they're so close to Haiti, which are more so of a black race that, it was really awesome. But everybody thought that I was Dominican on our trip. They thought I was Dominican. They thought my son was Puerto Rican, and they actually thought my boyfriend was Arabic because he wears a very long facial beard. But anyway, the Dominican Republic was colonized by the Spaniards in 1493. The capital of Dominican Republic, which is Santo Domingo, was founded in 1496, and it is the oldest European settlement in the Western Hemisphere. The Dominican Republic became independent in 1844, and even though it was independent, it still endured political instability and repressive governments. Today, it is a democracy, and it is solely economically dependent on tourism and agriculture. General Rafael Trujillo took control of the Dominican Republic in 1930. He was a brutal leader, but was an anti-communist, which is what assisted him in gaining support from the U.S. Trujillo is known for conducting a massacre that killed about 20,000 Haitians. In 1961, he was assassinated by rebels. They assassinated him due to his brutal dictatorship. After the assassination of Trujillo, Juan Bosch was elected president in 1962. Bosch appealed to and catered the poor and middle class, which was unfortunately frowned upon by the Dominican military. Therefore, Bosch was overthrown in 1963. For 3 years, different political groups fought for control over the Dominican Republic. In 1965, those who were fighting for the reinstatement of Bosch began to attack the military-controlled government. This commotion caused fear in the U.S. Fear that the Dominican Republic would become another Cuba, or maybe Fidel Castro was actually the face behind the violence in the Dominican Republic. In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson sent 22,000 U.S. troops to restore order and was successful by ending the fighting and installing a conservative non-military government greatly affected by European imperialism. This was due to its rich farmland and beautiful scenery, which was perfect for becoming grounds for selling and trading. The Dominican Republic is the second largest producer of sugarcane, which is the nation's most important commercial crop. Another cash crop found in the country is coffee and tobacco. These abundant and rich crops cause investors and financiers to come flock and set up shop. As wealthy as the nation was with these crops, it still struggled with maintaining a secure economy. The Dominican Republic became independent in 1844 and gained its first president named Pedro Santana. Santana ruled as a dictator and attempted to make the Dominican Republic a division of Spain, which the natives despised and caused many revolts to occur. The Dominican Republic also suffered many invasions from Haiti during this time. In 1916, the U.S. intervened mainly because they feared Germany would occupy the Dominican Republic and had the Dominican Republic sign a treaty for 50 years. This treaty stated that the U.S. would assist the nation with their debt for as long as it could. But this didn't last that long, and the U.S. had to basically return the Dominican Republic back to its democratic government in 1924. Unfortunately, as the Dominican Republic fought to sustain its independence, it saw as many as 21 presidents come and go. The Dominican Republic is visited by almost 4 million people every year. Tourism has become a major factor in the nation's economy and has even started to trump those profits of sugar exports. Although the Dominican Republic has the highest economic growth rate of Latin America, that rate has not improved the economy of its natives. Since many of the hotels are all-inclusive, which many feel are a way to keep tourists on site, the small businesses in the towns lack sales and profits. None of the large companies who build hotels in or around the Dominican Republic are willing to share profits with the natives and do not feel that they need to be included in tourism. This disengagement between large hotel companies and the local community has caused an increase in poverty and a lack of education. Some cultural examples of modernization in the Dominican Republic are the music and family life. Music plays a major role in the lives of Dominicans and can be heard anywhere from a car to a bus to the local store. The three traditional forms of music were bachata, merengue, and salsa. But due to the American influence, reggaeton and hip-hop have joined in. Family is very important to those in the Dominican Republic. But due to poverty, many families are becoming broken homes, due to members of families coming to the U.S. for a better job so that they can send money back to their family members in the Dominican Republic. Poverty has also caused the men of the Dominican Republic to look for work in the tourism department, while the women become victims of prostitution. Although the Dominican Republic has come a long way as far as its independence, the nation continues to struggle with poverty and a lack of education. More than a third of Dominicans live on less than $1.25 a day, and half of the country has access to clean water or sanitary toilets. Healthcare is also rare due to its cost, and only 30% of children finish primary school due to education being more geared towards the middle class.